Despite an eventual loss to Evansville Rights in 1951 in the state semifinal, a passionate fire had been lit for Crispus Attucks basketball.
In 50-51, Mr. Crow's first really state final team, his first state final team. The African American, the Negro, the black community actually rallied behind that ball club in newspapers, in streets, in restaurants. It was the total item of conversation, and the community just fell in behind it. It was perhaps the greatest thing that had happened to the community. Historically, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of pro and con in the black community about building Attucks in 1927, 1928. But in 1951, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there was no division at all in the black community about why Attucks existed, why it should exist, and what it did to bring the community together.
With future Indiana Basketball Hall of Famers Bailey Robertson, Hallie Bryant, and Willie Gardner only sophomores, the team appeared to be in great shape for a title run in the following years. However, Attucks would have no such luck. In 1952, they would lose in sectionals, and in 1953, they would lose in semi-state after yet another controversial late-game call. It seemed as though the close calls always went against Attucks. Despite the questionable officiating, Coach Crow always kept control over his team with his calm demeanor.
I never remember him getting a technical, and they have. And I never remember him complaining outwardly about the officials. And he never gave them an opportunity to use officiating as an excuse. So if there was biased officiating, and we have to assume that just because of the nature of things in that time in our history, there was biased officiating. But if there was, then only the officials knew that they were outright biased. There were bad calls. There were calls that you didn't think should have gone the way they did. But we played through it.
Number one, we was a black school doing it, you know what I mean? And so that was pressure right there. So my pressure already under pressure, you know what I mean? I was trying to get through the game, to win a game, you know, with the referee. Because when we played the game, we always looked like we playing against 7 men, you know. So that's what we always looked at when I played a ball game. Hey, we playing 7 men, so we got to go out and get it. Get a lead so they can't hurt us, you know. And so that's what we looked at it.
The way they handled themselves under extreme pressure and extreme prejudice always impressed me. They never complained with the officials. You didn't see them throwing things around, and Ray Crow never did that. And because of the way they handled themselves, it had a lot to do with what race relations started at that time.
With Bryant, Gardner, and Bailey Robertson all graduating, the immediate future at Crispus Attucks looked bleak. Little did the team know that they were about to stumble upon the greatest player in Indiana basketball history, Oscar Robertson. Since the previous year, he had grown nearly 6 inches to a height of just under 6'2", but he had also grown strong from working over the summer on his grandparents' farm in Tennessee.
When we played grade school ball, won the grade school 8th grade championship, Oscar might have been about 5, so maybe 5'9" or something, you know what I mean? But then he went to Tennessee and came back, he grew about 6'4", so, you know, yeah, that's something, he shot up. And by him handling the ball out all the time, where he grew tall and still had that ball to handle, you know what I mean? And so he just handled the ball real good and just did everything that, you ask for a guy to do on the basketball floor.
It was as smooth as silk. There was absolutely nothing he couldn't do on the floor. He was unselfish. Regardless of how many points he scored, he was unselfish. He wasn't, quote, the ball hog. But by the same token, as a ball player, I think they knew that if we're in trouble, we know where to go. We need to go to Oscar.
Oscar made the varsity team and helped lead Attucks to the state semifinals against Milan. Although race was not an issue for the players on the court, it seemed that for many in the community, more than just basketball mattered.
Before we played Attucks, when we came back from the morning game and we went out for our meal, cars would stop and roll their windows down and say, "Beat those goddamn niggers, get those damn niggers out of here." So the prejudice was overwhelming. And the prejudice in some of the areas that they played in was even worse than that.
After their disappointing loss to Milan the previous year, Attucks looked to be back as one of the heavy favorites to win the state title, and Crispus Attucks basketball had reached a fever pitch in the community. Despite the outstanding support the team received, they also faced their share of struggles. Crispus Attucks was still without a home gym, and so the team was forced to play all its home games at Butler's nearby Hinkle Fieldhouse. Despite their critics, Attucks breezed through the early part of its schedule, going into the city tournament in late December undefeated, and winning the tournament on a game-winning shot by Oscar Robertson. At the end of a victory, Attucks fans would begin to sing their victory song, the Crazy Song.
It was quite interesting towards the end of every ball game when they knew they had the game iced a little way that they would start their chant, Crazy Song, and the whole crowd would be standing and applauding and clapping and doing their swaying and weaving, and so it was quite something. Like Red Auerbach used to light up his cigar when the Boston Celtics had to put away. Well, that's the way Attucks did it when with the chant.
Oh, skip, bop, beat 'em. That's the crazy song. That's the crazy song.